We're in Book 1, the Book of Beginnings, Canto 4, the Secret Knowledge. And this canto is a special canto. It's different from all the, of course, they're all different. All the 49 cantos are different. But this one can stand alone. Okay? We can consider it as a kind of Aurobindo Upanishad. In this canto, he's not continuing with the narrative of the story of Aswapati or Satyavan or Savitri. This is the secret knowledge. He's sharing with us the knowledge on which this whole poem is based. And it has 7 different sections, and each of those sections shares with us a different facet, a different aspect of the poem, of the secret knowledge. They're complementary. So the section which we are in just now, which begins on page 66, it tells us about how the master of existence lurks in us. He's living in us. He's entered into this manifestation to play at hide and seek in the mighty mother's game. So we were reading about that. Because the Lord is within us, there's a mutual debt between human beings and the Supreme. He has put on our human nature, and we have to put on his divine nature. And on the bottom of page 67 it says, our life is a paradox. It's a puzzling kind of contradiction with God for key. We can only really understand this life that we find ourselves living if we find that key. But he says the key is hid. You know? The key is hidden in the subconscious. And while it's like that, even the divine in us is searching, as one forgetting. He searches for himself. No? And he has handed over the cosmic management to the mother. No? He's leaving everything to her. He explores the ceaseless miracle of himself till the 1,000-fold enigma has been solved in the single light of an all-witnessing soul. So I'm going to read on from there. This was his compact with his mighty mate, for love of her and joined to her forever, to follow the course of time's eternity, amid magic dramas of her sudden moods and the surprises of her masked idea and the vicissitudes of her vast caprice. 2 seem his goals, yet ever are they one, and gaze at each other over bourneless time. Spirit and matter are their end and source. A seeker of hidden meanings in life's forms, of the great mother's wide, uncharted will, and the rude enigma of her terrestrial ways. He is the explorer and the mariner on a secret inner ocean without bourne. He is the adventurer and cosmologist of a magic earth's obscure geography. In her material order's fixed design, where all seems sure, and even when changed, the same. Even though the end is left forever unknown, and ever unstable is life's shifting flow, his paths are found for him by silent fate. As stations in the age's weltering flood, firm lands appear that tempt and stay a while. Then new horizons lure the mind's advance. There comes no close to the finite's boundlessness. There is no last certitude in which thought can pause, and no terminus to the soul's experience. A limit, a farness never wholly reached, an unattained perfection calls to him from distant boundaries in the unseen. A long beginning only has been made. You will start, Bhavana.
This was his compact with his mighty need, for love for her and joined to her forever, to follow the course of time of eternity, amid magic dramas of a sudden move, and the surprises of her masked idea, and the vicissitudes of her vast caprice.
Yes. A compact, it's an agreement, a promise. So, when they began this game of hide and seek, they made an agreement. He promised her that for love of her and joined to her forever, he's not going to leave her, he's not going to abandon her. He will follow the course of time's eternity. We tend to think of eternity and time as contradictory or opposites. Eternity is timelessness, infinite timelessness. No? But there's a kind of eternity in the recurrence of time, in the endless moments of time in the universe. So he's going to follow that whole course of the eternity of time with her, in her manifestation, in this creation that she's made for him, for them both to play in. He's going to be with her through all the magic dramas of her sudden moods. This power that we recognize as nature, she's full of changes, unexpected changes, as if she's a capricious woman who suddenly changed her mind. She wanted this, now she wants that. surprises of her masked idea. All along, she has an idea, an intention, but it's hidden, it's disguised as if it's wearing a mask. So she's always surprising us when new aspects of her idea reveal themselves to us. And the vicissitudes of her vast caprice. Vicissitudes, they're all the challenging things that happen in life, the ups and downs of life that unexpectedly challenge us and surprise us. And these vicissitudes happen because of the vast caprice of the Mighty Mother. Caprice is when you do something just like that, just for fun, on a whim, without any special reason or purpose. Whoops, she's changed her mind again. In a human being, we'd say these are impulsive changes. Yeah? Martin.
Who, seeing his goals, is ever they one, engaged with each other over bourneless time. Spirit and matter are the end and form.
Yes. So he's following her wherever she goes, wherever she leads. No? But it seems as if there are two goals, two opposite possibilities. That's what it seems like to us, two contradictory goals. But Aurobindo says, in fact, these two apparent contradictory aims are always one. And they are joined, and they, from different extremes, they gaze at each other over bourneless time, limitless time. These two goals we can call spirit and matter. And both of them are ends, and both of them are beginnings. We start from matter to discover spirit. Spirit has started from its pure existence and created this involution of all the many planes of existence to become the end from where we start again. Gumsun. Source. A source is where you begin from. Yes. Yes, it's the beginning. It's where you start.
Because I was thinking the whole thing is the matter, so it begins from the...
We can look at it like that for us human beings. Matter is our starting, or we can say the starting point of this material universe. After the Big Bang, there was only matter, no? That seems like the source. But if we look at things from the other end, the source is pure spirit, pure existence.
Origin.
Yes, source is like origin, yeah. Sorry, Gumsun, please.
A seeker of the hidden meanings in life's forms, of the great mother's wide uncharted will, and the rude enigma of what's terrestrial ways. He is the explorer and the mariner on a secret inner ocean without border. He is the adventurer and the cosmologist of massive Earth's obscure geography.
Yes. So let's start with He. He, the Lord, the One involved in us as the soul. He is a seeker of hidden meanings in life's forms. That conscious soul in us sees all these outer forms of life in the world, but he's looking for some secret meaning in them, hidden meaning. And this makes him an explorer, a mariner. A mariner is a sailor. And what he's exploring is the wide, uncharted will of the Great Mother. When we say uncharted, it makes us think of maps, and particularly maps at sea. Those, if you are a mariner, if you're a captain of a ship, you have a chart which shows you where the water is deep enough for you to go, or it's shallow, there are reefs, here there's firm lands. So just with this single word, Aurobindo is reinforcing the idea of the soul as a mariner, taking a sea voyage. Once we had Professor Kashyap from Bangalore who came. He's a great Vedic scholar, and he says this image of the soul being on a sea voyage, this goes all the way back to the Vedas. He says there are two main images for the journey of the soul. One is as a mariner, a sailor, explorer, and the other is as a mountaineer, somebody who has to climb a high peak. So we see both these images in Savitri. Here, Aurobindo is following the image of the soul as an explorer, not exploring the outer ocean so much, on the secret inner ocean, the inner ocean of consciousness, which is without bourne. Just a few lines before we had bourneless, means with no border, no limit, no frontier. No? He's the adventurer and the cosmologist. A cosmologist is somebody who studies the universe. What he is studying is the obscure geography of a magic earth. Earth, of course, for us is our planet, but in the Indian tradition, earth is the material principle, matter. No? This is a magic earth, some special, secret, subtle substance that he's exploring. The obscure geography, this geography that's difficult to understand.
You told the He is the Lord, the One.
Yes.
But how he becomes the explorer and mariner?
Well, we said before, we have seen, Aurobindo showed us, that this one expresses himself in three different ways for us, for our experience. As the transcendent, as the supreme, as the universal spirit, and as the individual soul. And as the individual soul, he's in us as the conscious being, you could say. So the soul in each of us is an explorer and a mariner on this secret inner ocean of consciousness. And now in the next pages, we'll read about some of the developments and adventures that he has exploring this inner ocean. Justin, you read?
In the material order, sex design were all seen sure and even unchanged the same, even though the end is left for the unknown and the unstable is life's shifting slow. His paths are found for him by silent fate. His stations and ages weltering flood. Fair lands appear, tempt and stay a while. Then new horizons lure the mind's defense.
Yes. So in this fixed design of the world, the planet that we live in, this material order, which we think that we understand something about, everything seems sure, and even when there are changes, they seem to be the same laws underlying the behavior of matter. He's exploring, and his end is left forever unknown. He doesn't know where he's going. And the life is unpredictable. Life is also like an ocean, a shifting flow. Is unstable. We never know what's going to happen next. But in that shifting flow, his paths are found for him by silent fate. He gets guided, shown the way to go. He's shown the way to go, not by a voice, but by, we can say, circumstances, by the things that happen, that seem to be inevitable, that have to happen. But in that shifting flow, and his paths are being found for him, here and there, in that ocean of time, here it is, the weltering flood of the ages. The flood is the ocean weltering. It means there are huge waves. It can be very stormy. In that ocean of time, now and then he comes across something that's like land. Stations, firm lands appear. So those are very tempting to the soul. Let me explore this new island, this land, no? And he stays there for some time. But then after some time, the soul becomes dissatisfied. He thinks over the horizon there's something else, new horizons lure the mind's advance. He wants to know more, become conscious of more things. No? You will read?
There comes no close to the finite's boundlessness. There is no last certitude in which thought can pass. Unknown terminus to the soul's experience.
You can continue, please.
A limit, a farness never wholly reached, an unattained perfection calls to him. From distant boundaries in the unseen, a long beginning only has been made.
Yes. So there's no close to this journey, because even this finite world, in this world things are limited, they have borders, but the extent of this finite is unlimited. It's a boundless finite. So he never reaches any end. There's always more and more and more of it. And he never can reach a point where he feels, oh, this is it. This is the last certitude. Then I don't need to have to think anymore. Now I've got it. This is the answer. And there's no terminus to the soul's experience. The terminus is where the bus stops. It doesn't go any further. Everybody get off. But for the soul experience, there's no terminus. Just a minute. Let's reach the end of the sentence. Then you can ask your question. There's something is attracting him. He's looking for a limit. Something in the distance that he never can fully reach. It's an unattained perfection. Something perfect and final and complete. But he never reaches that. It's always calling to him from distant boundaries, in the unseen, in what is beyond the range of vision, beyond the range of thought. So always the feeling that whatever has been done and experienced so far is only a long beginning. A long beginning only has been made. What did you want to share, Kanyapan?
Finite boundlessness, is it like an oxymoron?
Yes, it's like an oxymoron. Aurobindo often uses such oxymorons. But this one, Einstein has also used it. He has said that the universe that we live in is a boundless finite. So that, and I think he gave, or one of his students gave, the image of a plate, an ant on the edge of the plate. He can go round and round and round and round, and he can wander all over the plate, and he never comes to the end of the plate. But the plate itself is bounded. No? So this is a way of seeing our universe. Whichever direction we go, we can't get to the end of it. No? But still, it is limited. It's only in a certain set of dimensions. Alice.
This is the sailor on the flow of time. This is world matter's slow discoverer who, launched into this small corporeal earth, has learned his craft in tiny waves of self, but dares at last unplumbed infinitudes of voyager upon eternity's seas.
So this, the soul, the Lord in us seeking for himself, is the explorer and the mariner. No? He's the sailor on the flow of time, the ocean of time. And he is slowly discovering this world matter, this material universe. He's been launched into this small corporeal birth. It's as if when we are born into this material world in a body, that body is like a boat for us, a little ship. And we get launched into life in the universe in this vessel. So when we get launched into this small corporeal birth, we have to learn how to navigate our craft, how to use our body, how to use our physical existence. And we learn this, first of all, like somebody who's just learning to use a boat, in safe little bays, protected areas, where the land comes around and protects, and it's safe to play about in your little boat there. There you learn what the boat can do and what it cannot do. No? So that's how he starts his journey. But at last, he dares unplumbed infinitudes. He becomes a traveler on the seas, not of time, but of eternity. And he's going to explore unplumbed infinitudes, many infinities. And unplumbed means that we have never found out how deep they are. Seamen in the old days, they used to measure the depths of the water they were passing through by tying a bit of lead or a stone to a rope. Plumbing means finding out how deep something is. And if it's unplumbed, nobody's ever found out how deep it is.
Fathomless.
Fathomless, yeah.
Shraddhavan? I have a question about line 820 and further. Spirit and matter are their end and source.
Yes, what is your
About that, and what I experience in reading further, and I experience that a lot of times.
What do you experience?
What I experience is that Aurobindo is often say something about the spirit via matter, via something material.
Yes.
He uses seas and
yes.
oceans.
That's to help us understand, no? Because that's what we are familiar with. Actually, it's a very remarkable thing about Aurobindo's poetic technique. I believe it's unique about Aurobindo's poetic technique. He uses imagery in a way different from any other poet. Poets give similes, no, that the girl was like a butterfly, you know. It gives us some aspect. But what Aurobindo does is he takes these things which are familiar to us, that we know something about, and tells us something that's completely unfamiliar to us. It's the other way round to way imagery is usually used by poets. But you noticed it especially with this line, or with spirit and matter. Well, of course, that is part of his message, that they're not separate things. We experience them as separate. There's consciousness, there's spirit, there's all that. That's immaterial for us. But he's saying, no, it's all part of a single, unbroken spectrum. And at one end there's spirit, and at one end there's matter, and they are connected. No? And we can start at either end and move to the other end. We can't really stop in the middle, he says. If we're trying to understand the universe, in the middle one could say, oh, life. Maybe life is the source, or it's the end, or mind. But he says, no. Actually, you have to choose one end or the other as your starting point or your goal. No? And that matter, he says, is a mold for spirit to develop, to grow, to experience itself.
Do you know examples that Aurobindo is describing the spirit via matter? The other way. Do you know examples of that?
Well, here when he's talking about the ocean and the boat and so on, he's talking about consciousness. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. And you will see how beautifully he does it in this next section. It's just amazing. So first of all, the picture of learning your little boat, how to handle it and play about with it in tiny, safe little bays of self. But in the end, we're going to be able to do so much more. We're going to be able to leave the earthly atmosphere altogether and explore unplumbed infinitudes. A voyager upon eternity's seas. So what are the steps? So the first step is, would you read, please? Would you read? In his world
adventures proved.
Yes, that's correct, please. Yeah.
Initial start. Behold him, ignorant of his Godhead's force, timid in shade of its vast design.
Continue.
Expert captain of a fragile craft, the trafficker in small impermanent wares. At first he hails the shore and shares the breeze. There's not to front the far-off perilous main.
Yes, so that's what he does at the beginning. When he starts his adventure in the world. It's a crude initial start, just a beginning. And at the beginning he has no idea of the strength and the quality of his own divine strength. He's ignorant of his Godhead's force, the divinity that is within him, which is himself. So he's just very timid at the beginning. An initiate is a beginner, no? And he's just beginning to learn about the world around him. But he has become an expert captain of his own body, of this fragile craft, this ship, this little boat that he has, which can be destroyed so easily, but at least he can manage this. It's one of the most marvelous things to watch a child who's just learning to sit up, learning to use its body, like somebody learning to use a crane, pick up. It's so amazing. So at an early point, we become expert captains of our fragile craft, of the body. And what do we use it for? We use it for trading, a trafficker in small, impermanent wares. At first, he's not carrying in his boat big cargoes. He's carrying only perishable things, fruits and vegetables from one little village to the next one. And he's following the shore. He doesn't go out into the open sea, hugging the shore. It's what you do in a boat. If there's a storm out at sea, you will stay near to the coast. He shuns the breadths. He doesn't go out into the open ocean. He doesn't dare. He's still a timid initiate. He doesn't dare to affront, to go and face the far-off, perilous main. The main is the open ocean. You go out of the harbor gate, harbor walls, out onto the main, onto the ocean, which is very perilous. So he stays safe near to the coast. This is our first experiments in the physical world.
Behold him is
See, look, let's look at this. Behold, lo and behold, see. He's showing him to us. That's how he is at the beginning. We're like voila, yes. Toon?
He, in petty coastal traffic plies, his spade rolled out from port to neighbor port, content with his safe round's unchanging course. He hazards not the new and the unseen.
This is a stage in the development of our consciousness. We feel safe plying, going backwards and forwards in a petty coastal traffic. He's just going from one port to another and back again. And he gets his rewards paid at each port. So he does that over and over and over again for a whole lifetime, or perhaps for many lifetimes. He's content with that safe round's unchanging course. And he doesn't dare, he doesn't hazard the new and the unseen, or the unfamiliar. It's the first stage of our development. Okay, we'll just do one more sentence. Olesia, would you read?
But now he hears the sound of larger seas. A widening the world calls him to distant scenes, and journeys in a larger regions up, and peoples unknown and still unvisited shores.
Yes. Soon you hear the call, the sound of those larger seas. It's very exciting, and you look out to wider horizons, no? So your sense of the world widens. A widening world calls him to distant scenes. Perhaps you've stood on the seashore somewhere and looked out and wondered what is beyond the horizon and what it would be like to go there. No? Journeyings in a larger vision's arc where the horizons are wider, and there are whole nations that you don't know anything about and are still unvisited shores. An arc is part of the circumference of a circle. So when we are standing on the land, we see the horizon as a kind of arc. We don't usually see the full circle. But sometimes you may see only just a tiny little bit of the horizon. Or you may be in a place, I remember in the early days in Auroville, you could see all around vast horizons. Yeah. Now all the trees have grown up. Would you like to read, please? Yes.
On a commission, heal his merchant hull, search the world's commerce in the riches of time, severing the foam of a great landlocked sea, to reach unknown harbor lights in distant climes, and open markets for life's opulent parts, rich veils, carved statuettes, hued canvases, and jeweled toys brought from an infant's play, and perishable products of hard toil, and transient splendors won and lost by the days.
Yes. So it's another stage in our development, this exploration of a wider world. And the image that he gives of it, it's like those peoples that we know about in the ancient world, the Phoenicians and the Greeks, who started exploring the Mediterranean, the great landlocked sea. It's surrounded by land, but still it's quite vast and interesting to travel from port to port there. And now he's traveling on a commissioned keel. It means that he's doing it for profit. He's taking goods and taking them to sell them somewhere far away. So his ship is a merchant ship now. He's dealing in all kinds of transactions, serving the world's commerce. And the kind of goods that he's carrying are luxury goods, the riches of time. So he has to cross the sea. He can't hug the shore anymore. He has to cross this sea, but still it's a landlocked sea. There is land all around it. To reach unknown harbor lights in distant climes. Even the climate is different. And those places where he goes to are open markets. There are people coming there from many, many different places. And what they're exchanging are these luxuries, life's opulent arts, rich bales of fantastic cloth, carved statuettes, canvases, paintings, jeweled toys brought for an infant's play. An infant, of course, is a small child, but the infanta was the prince or the princess of Spain. No, it was these are royal children. They're not just ordinary children. They get these jeweled toys. But he's also bringing perishable products, things that have come from far away, that have taken a lot of hard toil to produce them, and they won't last long. And all these splendors are transient splendors. They've been won by effort in time, and they will be lost in time also. This is like the development of our vital being. I think we'll have to stop there. There are some more stages before he can dare the unplumbed infinitudes. We'll read about those next time.
This was his compact with his mighty mate, for love of her and joined to her forever, to follow the course of time's eternity, amid magic dramas of her sudden moods, and the surprises of her masked idea, and the vicissitudes of her vast caprice. Two seem his goals, yet ever are they one, and gaze at each other over bourneless time. Spirit and matter are their end and source. A seeker of hidden meanings in life's forms, of the great mother's wide uncharted will, and the rude enigma of her terrestrial ways. He is the explorer and the mariner on a secret inner ocean without bourne. He is the adventurer and cosmologist of a magic earth's obscure geography. In her material order's fixed design, where all seem sure, and even when changed the same, even though the end is left forever unknown, and ever unstable is life's shifting flow, his paths are found for him by silent fate. as stations in the age's weltering flood, firm lands appear that tempt and stay a while. Then new horizons lure the mind's advance. There comes no close to the finite's boundlessness. There is no last certitude in which thought can pause, and no terminus to the soul's experience. A limit, a farness never wholly reached, an unattained perfection calls to him from distant boundaries in the unseen. A long beginning only has been made. This is the sailor on the flow of time. This is world matter's slow discoverer, who, launched into this small corporeal birth, has learned his craft in tiny bays of self, but dares at last unplumbed infinitudes, a voyager upon eternity's seas. In his world adventure's crude initial start, behold him ignorant of his Godhead's force, timid initiate of its vast design. An expert captain of a fragile craft, a trafficker in small impermanent wares. At first he hugs the shore and shuns the breadths, dares not to affront the far-off perilous main. He in a petty coastal traffic plies, his pay doled out from port to neighbour port. Content with his safe round's unchanging course, he hazards not the new and the unseen. But now he hears the sound of larger seas. A widening world calls him to distant scenes and journeyings in a larger vision's arc, and peoples unknown and still unvisited shores. On a commissioned keel his merchant hull serves the world's commerce in the riches of time, severing the foam of a great landlocked sea to reach unknown harbour lights in distant climes, and open markets for life's opulent arts, rich bales, carved statuettes, hued canvases, and jewelled toys brought for an infant's play, and perishable products of hard toil, and transient splendours won and lost by the days.